guys, RanterInShades here, exercising my first Remember Rights vlog style, and welcome to Q&A number 10, the This or That edition. Got a lot of really interesting questions for this one, so this one should be a cool one, I hope. Before I start, I just want to say how weird it is that half a decade ago I created this channel because I was so intrigued by the community I'm now associated with and joined up with them and began making videos. It's weird to think that this all started 5 years ago, and how far I've come as a content creator and as a person since then, how much I've changed as a person and as a content creator since those days. It's just really crazy to think of how much time has really passed in, pursuing this, little hobby of mine. Even though I don't really intend on making this a job, just how far it's come and how crazy it all is if you think about it. I'm really thankful for everybody who's supported me in this and has, been along for the ride and has been nice and cool and all that. I really appreciate all of that, and I hope to continue doing this until I either get bored with it or run out of ideas, or if other shit, takes over my life, which is not out of the question. I don't know how soon any of that will happen, but until anything like that happens, here's to, making more videos and more bullshitting around on here. So now let's start with the questions. Jackson Vasquez asks, New York City or Seattle, Washington? Definitely New York. New York is basically, my second home. I've had a lot of really interesting and cool adventures in New York City and in New York in general. I really do miss New York. So much of my time, during my college years was spent, venturing around in the city and doing cool shit there, whether it be going to concerts, whether it be doing the internship that I had my senior year. New York City is just a blast. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. Even to this day, I'll sometimes chill with, some college friends or go into the city for something, whether it be a concert or whether it be something else. So New York is still accessible for me, definitely. I've only been to Seattle once, but this was years ago, back in 2010. Cooper Sly King asks, Sublime or 311? I must know! Definitely Sublime. As far as 90s alternative acts go, I've always found them to be really interesting. I've always found Bradley Nowell to be a really good guitarist. The solo in Santeria is still to this day one of my favorite guitar solos. I'm really not a big fan of 311. I've never really cared for them that much, but Sublime I always thought was one of the best and most unique alternative acts in the 90s. Damien Skyfire asks, Damien Skyfire or other non-charismatic New Zealanders? I'm not sure I know anybody else from New Zealand other than you. For real though, Limp Bizkit or Korn? Definitely Korn. They're more interesting of writers, better riff writers. Limp Bizkit are a guilty pleasure of mine, whereas Korn are not a guilty pleasure, they're a straight up pleasure. The Joker Fan 95 asks, Coke or Pepsi? Mountain Dew is my favorite beverage, but if I were in a predicament where there was no Mountain Dew available and my only options were Coke or Pepsi, I would go with Coke. I Feel It Comin' or Can't Feel My Face? As cool as Can't Feel My Face was, I find myself being more intrigued by the musical elements of I Feel It Comin'. Best of the first 3 Nicktoons to ever premiere, Doug, Rugrats, or Ren and Stimpy? Rugrats would be my favorite out of these 3, then followed by Doug, then followed by Ren and Stimpy. The Stickbot Warrior asks, McDonald's or Burger King? This is a tough one because I do like them both as far as, fast food places go. I actually had Burger King today. I've been going to Burger King more recently than I have McDonald's, so I'm probably gonna go with them.
Burger King!
Agent Deathbat asks, white women or black women? White women. Socialism or capitalism? Capitalism. PC or console? I'm not a gamer, so I've never really had any real opinion on the whole PC versus console thing that a lot of people like to obsess over. If I had to pick one, I might go with console because, Guitar Hero is a game that I occasionally like to revisit and whatnot, and that's a console game, so I might go with that. Metalcore or post-hardcore? Post-hardcore, I think, is a lot more interesting than metalcore. Keith Vesey Official asks, rock albums of the 90s or 2000s? As a whole, I might go with the 90s, because I think as far as the 2000s go, like the first half of the 2000s, I tend to put above the second half of the 2000s, whereas the 90s, I don't really have too much of a preference of the early 90s versus the mid 90s versus the late 90s and whatnot. Spicy Boy asks, Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees? I'm gonna go with Freddy for this one, because I'm not as big into the Friday the 13th movies as I am the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The Temporal Thief asks, if you could listen to only one of these artists for the rest of your life, Alter Bridge or Joe Satriani? I'm gonna go with Joe Satriani for this one, because his discography is bigger. Ethan Wark asks, prog rock or prog metal? Prog rock, I think, is more expansive than prog metal, but I tend to listen to prog metal more, as that's basically my favorite genre of music at this point. A Nostalgic Millennial asks, Creed or Nickelback? Nickelback, because unlike Creed, I actually like them. Playboy Casanova asks, Rubber Soul or Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band? Rubber Soul might be coming up on top by just a little bit. Sgt. Pepper is also a very good album from the Beatles, but I tend to put Rubber Soul ahead by just a little. Punk or heavy metal? I'm gonna say metal because it's more expansive. Hair Metal Brony 1016 asks, apples or oranges? Apples as far as juice goes, oranges as far as the fruits themselves. The Unforgiven 1, 2, or 3? Unforgiven 3. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I actually do like Death Magnetic. Lottie Jansen asks, post-hardcore or easycore? Again, I'm gonna have to go with post-hardcore because I find the writing there and the musicianship to be a lot more interesting than I do with easycore. Easycore is really fun and cool. It's like the more technical form of pop punk, but I find post-hardcore to be a little more interesting. Space Metal Ferrari 248 asks, prog metal or power metal? Prog metal because, like I said, it's basically my favorite genre of music at this point. Power metal's cool, but prog metal I find to be much more interesting. 2. And Justice for All or Ride the Lightning? Ride the Lightning, that's my favorite of Metallica's album. And Justice for All comes fourth in my favorite Metallica albums, Master of Puppets being second and Kill 'Em All being third. 3. I Hate Everything or Channel Awesome? Definitely gonna go with IHE. I like his style of comedy a lot better. I like his editing and his audio quality. It's breathtaking. I enjoy his Search for the Worst videos and his I Hate videos very much. I Hate Everything is honestly like one of the most perfect channels I can really think of. I really enjoy his videos. And of course, we can't forget this stroke of genius. And I'm assuming by Channel Awesome, you're referring to the YouTube channel as opposed to every single person that's on Channel Awesome, in which the only person that I really watch on the channel is really just Nostalgia Critic. And I like Nostalgia Critic a lot. I find his videos really entertaining, but he's really all I watch. I don't watch anybody else on the channel, which is no offense to any of them. Now, as far as Channel Awesome as a whole, aside from Nostalgia Critic, the only other people I really watch there is pretty much just Todd in the Shadows and Rap Critic, and that's pretty much it. Sheldon Champagne asks, Coheed and Cambria or Protest the Hero? Not that they are really all that similar, lol. Actually, I find them to be kinda similar. They have similar sounding vocals and pretty crazy instrumentals at times. In fact, one of my dream tours is a double bill featuring Coheed and Cambria and Protest the Hero. Now, to answer your question, I think Coheed are the better writers, whereas Protest the Hero are the better musicians. Silent Wolf X84 asks, Lil Pump or XXX Tentacion? Even though I've never listened to any of XXX Tentacion's music, Lil Pump made the much worse impression on me, so I'm probably gonna go with Tentacion. He also asks, don't know if you are that well versed into Dance Gavin Dance, but here it goes. Johnny Craig, Kurt Travis, or Tillian Pearson? Feel free to rank them. I'm a big fan of Johnny Craig, but mainly for the first 2 Emma Rosa albums that he did with them, as well as his work with Slaves, as well as the album with the short-lived supergroup Isles and Glaciers. So I'm probably gonna rank him first, then followed by Kurt Travis, because I like his work with Dance Gavin Dance. Haven't really listened to too much of the stuff with Tillian, though Dance Gavin Dance's last album did sort of, rejuvenate my interest in the band, so yeah. G6R1E9G asks, Logan or Jake Paul? Pick your poison. As much of a douchebag as Jake Paul is, Logan is without a doubt the bigger scumbag. Just fuck this guy for fucking making that video. Fuck whoever edited it and made the thumbnail for it and uploaded it, because I don't think that Logan necessarily deserves all of the blame, because I doubt he edits his own videos or makes his own thumbnails or does any of that, but still, this was just a video that just did not deserve to exist on YouTube. Just, god damn. Jan Roxas asks, Kanye or Taylor Swift? I'm probably going to go with Kanye for this because unlike with Taylor Swift, there's actually a song that I like from Kanye as a guilty pleasure, which that would be Gold Digger. Metallica or Slipknot? Metallica, since I've been listening to them longer. 2016 or 2017? Both of these years had a thing where the first half of the year was really fun and exciting, and then the second half of the year was just really depressing for various reasons, so I'm not sure which of them I'd say is better or worse. I'm probably gonna go with 2016 because, generally speaking, I think I was just in a better overall mood than I was even in the really good parts of 2017, so there you go. Oliver Hayho asks, Maiden or Priest? Maiden musically, Priest as far as vocals. Daniel Monaghan asks, technicality or melody? I find myself more drawn to melody, though I think the best bands are able to be both technical and melodic. And Pliny is a very good example of this. Shai Gaigus, I'm assuming that's how your name is pronounced because I see your profile picture is of a shy guy, asks, Ready to Die or All Eyes on Me? Definitely Ready to Die here. Not only do I consider that to be a hip-hop classic, but I'm a bigger fan of Biggie than I am of Tupac. Michael Jackson or Prince? This is a really tough one, because I love them both. I consider them to be both exceptionally talented and phenomenal performers. I'm probably going to go with Prince for this one, because he plays guitar and was actually a multi-instrumentalist, so I think that puts him ahead of Michael by just a little bit. Though that's no dig on Michael, because he made great music himself. De La Soul or A Tribe Called Quest? Tribe Called Quest, you know, Low End Theory, Midnight Marauders, both very good of hip-hop albums that get more of a play from me than De La Soul tends to. Kyle Atkinson asks, George Lynch of Dokken or Warren DeMartini of Rat? Definitely George Lynch. He is a phenomenal guitarist, and I'm more interested in his style than I am in Warren's, and plus, you know, he has more projects that I like than I know of from Warren. With Lynch, you got, as well as Dokken, you got Lynch Mob, you got TNN, you got KXM, you got Souls of We, you got his 1993 solo album Sacred Groove. I love George Lynch as a guitarist. Warren's great too, and he's definitely my favorite part of Rat, but I think George had a little bit more going on for him than I could really see with Warren. James EU asks, I think I got a few good ones. A few. 1. 80s, 90s emo, Midwest DC emo, or 2000s emo, mainstream breakthrough and peak? I'm gonna go with 2000s for this one since I really don't know much 80s, 90s emo. 2. 90s pop punk such as Offspring, Green Day, or Blink, or 2000s pop punk such as Sum 41, Yellow Card, or Fall Out Boy. 2000s I think was produced better, but 90s had more energy, so I'm probably going to go with 90s for this one. 3. A memorable riff or a memorable solo? I think the riff is ultimately what sticks with you more than the solo, because you hear a really cool riff and you want to learn it. I think in the process of learning a song, that's what comes before learning a solo. Number 4. Nick Jonas, Lil Wayne, or Fred Durst guitar technique? Does Fred Durst even play guitar? If he does, wow. I did not know that. I'm probably going to go with Nick Jonas for this one, because at least with him, you expect some sort of knowledge for the instrument. Of course, we all remember that really stupid solo from that show, but, you know, you at least expect better from him than you do Lil Wayne or Fred Durst. Number 5, are you more of a full album listener or a singles listener? This sort of depends on the artist. These days, I tend to prioritize full albums over just the singles. 6, a longer question. Which of the two do you think is more important on deciding if someone is great at playing their instrument? Would it be their writing ability with that instrument or their technical ability with their instrument? For example, Kurt Cobain and Billie Joe Armstrong don't showcase much technical ability on guitar, but I think they're great because they could write memorable riffs and solos with it. I think the best guitarists are proficient at both lead and rhythm guitar. Kurt Cobain and Billie Joe Armstrong I don't think were as strong of lead players, but they were better suited as rhythm guitarists, so some technical ability, I think, does play into this a little bit. Though with Green Day, the solo in Jesus of Suburbia during the portion Tales from Another Broken Home, that's a pretty cool solo, and overall the song is fucking awesome. 7. Are you an ass man or a tits man? I think I answered a question like this in the previous Q&A. I'm more of a tits man. And finally, Foreign Film Fanatic asks, traditional metal or power metal? I've always been more intrigued by power metal than traditional metal. Power metal bands I think, pushed limits that traditional metal bands tended to not feel comfortable pushing. And that's it for this Q&A. Thank you to everyone who asked questions, and thank you to everyone watching this video. Take care and have a nice day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.